Food and weight obsession can be exhausting. Losing weight, gaining weight, dieting, feeling like a failure because you missed a workout, binged, overate, or gained all the weight back. The cycle is endless and it can be maddening. But I'm here to say you can stop the mental madness. You can take back control of your food behaviors, but you have to face your fears, you have to ask for help, and make a change. I am Leslie M. Thornton, permanent weight loss coach from hpwl.co. This is Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, and I know you can make this happen. On this podcast, you will hear how to stop the mental madness, love your body, trust your food decisions so you can create a life of happiness, freedom, and inner peace. Hello, Leslie M. Thornton, Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. Coming to you today with Toni Jones of Affirmation Music. I had the pleasure of meeting Toni Jones in Sedona. We were just talking about that last winter for a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful trip. And Toni was a guest that came to our mastermind and presented her affirmation music. So I'll just read her bio quickly, but first I'll just say, Toni, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So just to read you her bio. So for 6 years, Toni Jones served as a life coach, which I can attest that the coaching that I've seen you give, Toni, is like extraordinary. I love the way you coach. I think you have just like such a wisdom, and ability to communicate the wisdom that's like unique. And I just really appreciate that. Also, a mental health advocate for women and youth. And now as an affirmation musician, she promotes the message of conscious well-being through her music. Toni hopes to inspire others to become more conscious about their well-being in a culture that drowns people in normalizing workaholism. So yeah, Toni, thanks for being here. I love that bio. And one of the reasons I wanted to have Toni on is because obviously at Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, we're all about knowing the power of the mind. And anything that is automatically going on, in our minds, if it's negative, that's going to be kind of the reality that we create. And the way that we change the unconscious mind is through repetition, right? And through emotion. And so, to me, it makes total sense that by listening to music, and having those same lyrics go over and over and over again, we're actually rewiring the unconscious mind and changing the way we think, which, so whether it's getting out of, constant struggling with food, body, and weight stuff, or, just in general, that you're hard on yourself, or people tell you you're hard on yourself. These are ways that people can, clear it out. And what's better than music and another tool to offer people. So would love to hear, Toni, just your story and how you started doing what you're doing today.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me and sharing me with your platform and audience. So I was life coach for 7 years, and through prayer meditation, I asked the divine for an idea to help my coaching business. And I got the idea of affirmation music, and I Googled it, and I was just like, no one has coined this. No one has said this is what they do. I was like, wow, I get to be that person that does something new. And so the way that I envisioned it was creating an affirmation album where women can practice well-being on the go. And that'll be a tool for them to be, become clients of my coaching business. But a whole nother world opened for me. That album took off the first year and the second year. And by the second year, I released another album and closed down my coaching business and became an affirmation musician full time. And so essentially, I help people talk to themselves better through the power of word and music and affirmation, word to be exact. And it's been such a journey. It's been such a shift to change careers, for a dream to happen that I never dreamed before, Leslie. It's just been such a paradigm shift because life, I won't say life, but society and our cultural conditioning teaches us that everything that you receive in life comes from how hard you work and how much intention you put and how much strategy and planning you put into your life if you get to any type of success, any type of rewarding outcome. And affirmation music was like so countercultural to that because it was so easy for me. It came very natural for me. It was fun. And it didn't feel like hard work. It didn't feel like I planned for this type of success. And I was just like, wait a minute, how easy can life get? You know? And so I've been more so curious. Since then, I've been just been led by curiosity and to just explore how easy life can get. Like how relaxing can it be to pursue my goals in ambitious ways, but without compromising my well-being. So affirmation music has completely changed a lot of people's lives, people's perspectives on music, life, healing, but it's really revolutionized my life and my mindset and how I approach my goals, entrepreneurship, relationships, because it made me realize life doesn't have to be a journey of suffering, you know, for what you want in life. I realize when you get out of your own way, you can allow life to be animated through you. And the more you surrender to that, the more you get to just receive the fruits of that surrendering to how life is already orchestrated. And you get to co-create through your embodiment of surrendering, of trusting, of letting go, you know, and unlearning things. So that's a little small synopsis. So many juicy details along the way that have happened, but that's a little small synopsis of like how I show up in the world and what brought me to this place I'm at now.
Oh, I love it. And as you're talking, I could just feel my energy like building with excitement because just I'm present to the perfection of the timing of this specifically. So the mastermind, you know, that we met at in Sedona, like I made a decision of wanting to have life be easy, you know, and, you know, have found success with the coaching business. My, you know, audience knows I talk specifically around like I knew the next frontier for myself. I got past all of the food, body, and weight drama, right? And negativity around that and found freedom in that area of my life. But money was the next frontier.
Yeah.
And so, you know, all of the work that's been being done has been, you know, and the work that I teach is like the emotional mastery of like, how can we like calm our nervous systems?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because when we have all those, you know, past stories or whatever about that we're not even aware of, you know, have to work hard for my money and fears of rejection or, you know, all this stuff and baggage that we carry with us from the past, it can make life feel like it's hard and like we have to suffer every day through it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just recently had like such a major shift, you know, after studying all of that. And like my nervous system has like calmed down in the entire area. I'm like, oh my God, it's happening.
Happening.
And like watching though, that as my inner world is shifting, like what's coming in is also drastically different. And so I'm curious
Yes.
for you, you know, in this pivotal time, you know, when you change from coaching to this, was there inner shifts happening within you? Was there other things going on?
Yeah, there were a lot of inner shifts happening because when I started affirmation music, it was while I was full-time employed. I worked in Detroit public high schools. I'm based in Detroit, and I loved the job I was doing in public. My job title was a dream director. So it was magical superhero Avengers type work that I was doing. I was like, oh, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I'm getting paid well, I have good insurance, and I'm in complete control of my time. Like I didn't have a traditional job. So it was like I found this vortex in the capitalistic world while doing purposeful work. So I was like, there was no reason why I should leave this job. And then I was able to have a side business to make money, you know, on the side. So I was pretty satisfied with the work that I was doing. And then when I launched that album, my whole life changed. I lost my job. I had to get rid of my house. I ended up being in the psych ward because I dealt with suicidal ideation. I mean, a lot of things happened in 2019. So where when I got rid of my house, it was just really, really crazy. So at the end of 29, when I moved back there with my family, I made a decision that I was going to put the independent woman to rest. So what I mean by the independent, I'm not talking about taking personal accountability for your life. I'm talking about that overly independent trauma response to thinking that everything in life is dependent on you and you can't trust anybody to really support you because nobody wants to support you. That type of independent mentality that leaves your nervous system in fight or flight, mode. And so I had to put her to rest. She had brought me so much, but that decision, it really made an inner shift in me because I had to start over again. And so I moved back in with family, and I was into 2019. I'm still with family because my intention was to relax more, like not be overly concerned and conscious of bills and survival. So I want your audience to know, like, I had to make a sacrifice that hurt my pride, my ego, and the conditioning that society puts on us or, infiltrates in our psyche that says that we're not enough if we can't, have our own this and own that and our lives look like this. That hurt me to do that. But I knew that my feminine energy, my nervous system, and the clarity on how I move forward required me to not be concerned about bills. So I'm not preaching this as a modality for people to do, like move back in with family, but play the cards that you have and bet on yourself. No matter what, if you have to move back in with family, if you have to move back in with, you want it to be somewhat of a safe space. You don't want it to be a harmful, violent, experience, but really take inventory and audit the cards that you have to reduce the pressure to survive in a society that drowns us in capitalism and overly being conscious of paying bills. So when I did that, that shifted my focus. When I removed bills, when I removed trying to get a job off my consciousness because I was in more of a relaxed environment than, having my own home and having to take care of a home and all of these things, and got rid of 80% of my belongings. I filed for an unemployment, got unemployment, and it gave me space to see where my blind spots were. So that shift of trying to focus on survival to focus on how do I thrive my next some 20 plus whatever years, how do I set myself up? I'm at this time of my life where I don't ever want to work for anybody again. I don't want anybody ever to have that type of control of my livelihood. How do I do this on my own when no one had shown me how to do it? So I was like looking at affirmation music, and by that time I had one album out. I was like, well, let me do another album. Let me get a grant. Let me do another album. And then I started to see it pay my cell phone bill, my car note. And I was like, wait a minute, I have something here. Let me not try and move out of my family's home. Let me sit here and create a life that I actually deserve. And when I'm ready, then I'll launch out into the world and explore. And I'm still like, I don't know if I'm ready to go back to bills. I'm like, I love this nomad, no bills life, So that shift from going from survival mode to stable mode, focusing on my stability, it's been a journey. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a journey, but I just want to be in full transparency with you and your audience about the inner shift happened, but the inner shift happened because I made certain sacrifices. I betted on myself, and my ego suffered for it, but only for a minute, only for a short amount of time. And I was able to humble myself for the vision I really wanted for my life. And then once I started to do that, some resources started to happen, favor started to happen. When I speak of favor, I had no consciousness of how that is a wealthy currency. Having the favor of people that see you, hear you, and people who have access and resources and privilege, Like, I was like, wow, my greatest currency is my relationships with people and the people that I influence in positive ways. So I can go on and on about the shifts that happen and the fruits from those shifts, but it definitely pays off to do the I won't say hustle or grind, but do the practice and the work of shifting your inner world and watch how the external world adjusts and codes to that inner reality. It's pretty phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. Yeah, I can relate to so much of what you're saying. Like I did the nomad thing for years. I did, 12 countries in 2.5 years and had a laptop lifestyle and everything. And it was amazing, wouldn't take it back for anything. But I always had like self-applied pressure on myself to like, I have to get everything done myself. And nobody made me feel like I had to get out of the house by a certain age and like had to go to college and had to start a business and had to like, nobody did that but myself, and while I had great experiences and I wouldn't trade it for anything, there was a point where it was like, decision of like, are you going to go back home? And for me, it was like, oh my God, that's the sign of failure, and I had to kind of overcome that and just realize like, no, I even had a friend that I stayed with in Australia for a while. And I had finished and I didn't have much money in my account after all the traveling. And she was nice enough to let me stay at her house. I was doing some NLP and hypnosis and coaching for her as a trade or whatever. And I was hustling every day. I was on the laptop and I was like, just trying to, who needs coaching and who can I help? And she sat me down and she was like, listen, like you just did a life dream. You just completed on this major thing. Like you're safe. You have a place to stay, like recalibrate, relax, and everything's going to be all right. And it was like, again, it's the sign of like, and I wasn't being successful in that hustle time, it was like nothing that I've done that has been consistently, like you said, like it's going to last me for 30 years and sustain me. It was always just these quick, things, but nothing was actually, feeling really good in my body. So just really appreciate your sharing that. And I'm sure as people are listening, if they had, there might be in a situation, maybe they got into a marriage out of a place of fear, and maybe they had kids out of a place of fear, and maybe, they've built up an entire empire of a business and, and this is resonating with them. Like, what would you say to them as, they're like, oh, I don't have that option.
What's interesting is I'm very aware of the different realities and lifestyles that people are living in this economy in Western society. I tell people your intention, your free will, your imagination is the most powerful thing to take your life to the next level. Your intention, your imagination, like how can you reimagine your life? What do you want? What don't you like about your life? I would say start there. Just take go to the park, go into nature, go somewhere that's not familiar. Go to a new park if you're used to being in nature. Go somewhere in nature. Just go somewhere different, even if it's a cafe. If you can't get into nature, go to a cafe, somewhere new. And this is what's going to help you create new neurological space for a new sustainable mindset of creating the life that's outside the limitations that are in your present reality, perceived limitations. And in this new environment, start writing down, asking questions like, what do I like about my life? Sit with that. Then ask, what don't I like about it? If I got the power to if I had the power to change things in my life right now, what would I change? That right there brings anything out the dark into the light and out of your blind spots. And then from that space, examine how you talk about these things. What are the inner conversations about these things? Write that down. And there is no rush to answer these. This can be a very meditative practice. And then once you see how you talk about the things you like about your life, the things you don't like about your life, the things that you want to change, then create on another page, what would you like to say about what you like about your life or what you don't like about your life? Create that conversation. And then once you are aware of the new conversation that empowers your present moment and what you want to create for your future life, you commit to you and devote yourself to that new conversation. And you repeat it as much as it feels true to, whether you do it every day, whether you do it 3 times a week, whether you do it 3 times a day. Commit to that inner conversation, because what you say is what is going to be the sound. Your conversation is going to be the soundtrack to your relationship, to your future and your present moment. We all know that if you have any relationship with anybody on this planet, whether it's in business, personal, with your children, with your wife, husband, spouse, whoever, coworker, is always going to require a healthy communication. So when it comes to your life, when it comes to the perceived limitations, when it comes to the things that you like or dislike about your life, you have to audit, take inventory, and adjust and imagine what the old conversation and new conversations that disempower and empower the reality that you want to experience and that you deserve. So I would say start there. And that practice right there gives you a sensation of power. When you feel like your life and your reality and what's, on your plate makes you feel powerless, that practice alone will give you the power to choose a different story for yourself, starting from the inside out.
Absolutely amazing. Everyone rewind, push play rewind, until you get that entire practice down, because yes, 100%. There was a book that I read in the past. I think it was called Warrior Goddess Woman or something. She talked about writing what the story that you tell yourself about your past or your life, what it's been. And then on the other side of the paper, write your new story. And it's the flavor, the coloring that you have on the stories that you tell yourself about your current situation is going to completely affect whether you have power over it or are a victim to it, and whether you're going to be able to move through it or not. And such a lovely place that your music, can support people as well to kind of get those reps in and add to it your specific dreams. I love that so much. For myself, I've recently kind of gone through a major shift like this that was very scary. But it was actually, there's been dreams that I've had. And it's interesting with dreams for your life, how, at least in my experience, it's I'll have them and then they'll kind of be put in some other location in the back corner and oh yeah, someday, and you kind of keep hustling and grinding, but you're not actually. So, one of those situations, it was always this vision I had of waking up, and it was just a beautiful, easy morning, and, go for a walk, move my body, drink some tea, do some meditation, right?
Yes.
And 2 p.m., open up my laptop and help some people,
Yes. Yes.
in whatever way that looked and I had built up this business with this amazing team and, very performance based and very masculine and very successful, multiple 6 figures. But the stress in my body, and, I had shared this vision, and, my coach specifically brought it out, and she was just it seems with what you're communicating, you're looking for spaciousness. You're looking for, that kind of, easiness, the simplicity. And, so frightening, because it was all right. And I had it in my mind associated that once I'm married, then that vision can come true. And then she quickly erased that, right? Okay. And she was so just to let you know, once you get married and have kids, life gets way more hectic, not less, so if you want to do that vision, ain't nobody creating it but you.
Yeah. Are you married and do you have children?
I'm not, and I don't.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm much more yep, we're doing it now, girl, and so I have a whiteboard next to my desk over here, and every month I kind of write down what's my intention. And so for that month, it was I'm creating the dream this month, and I watched that month, and just speaking again to the exercise that you awesomely gave everyone, the power of just making a decision and speaking out, this is what I want. I watched that month, my entire world, seemed like it was falling apart. But when I kept looking over there, I was like, I'm getting exactly what I asked for, even though it
Yes.
felt painful, but really like saying yes to putting myself first and putting that dream first. And now, that is 100%, like I do not start any work till 11 a.m. and I'm in the hot tub and meditating and journaling in the morning and walking my dog and playing pickleball with senior citizens down the street because I love pickleball, and facing all those fears. So, something that's helped me, just for anyone listening, but going back to that question of like, if it's overwhelming, is like, I always would give myself just try it for a month, like whatever it is. So I remember when I was living in India and I was, going through some of these things, and I really wanted like a cleaning service and I wanted, whatever, but I was scared to spend the money, to like have those types of things for myself. And my coach was like, just try it for a month, and see if, does the world fall apart, or do you actually make more money because you invest in yourself in these ways that feel abundant and luxurious or whatever. And yeah, I didn't die. And I loved the experience. I learned that I loved paying people money to do services for me. Like, it was a great place of joy for me to be like, here, like, I'm so excited to give this to you. May it bless your life, and so yeah, just bite-sized chunks, like you're saying, and just little by little, like, how can I create the dream now? I remember when I was still working as a nurse full time and like just had the dream of, having the freedom lifestyle. And I didn't know how to get there or whatever, but just on my days off, I would have the dream day, or if I wasn't working till later in the afternoon, I would just do it as much as I could with that free time that I had. So, yeah, for anyone listening, like, it can go a long way to just like look at what you have, right? Own the fact that you have this dream, and like, what can I do right now that's going to mimic it and have the similar energy as it? And yeah, like you're saying, like, just start speaking it into existence, that, that's something that you're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. And so with with your music, do you channel it, or like, what's the process? And yeah, I'm excited for everyone to start
Well,
listening.
I have it's interesting. I started a weekend intensive for artists, musicians, rappers, yoga instructors, wellness coaches, therapists who want to create affirmation music, who feel called to it. So I did a weekend intensive back in May and it sold out. So I got such amazing response afterwards that I was like, let me do this again. So I'm doing it again in September so people can learn pretty much my blueprint, not to, follow my blueprint, but my blueprint is pretty much the way that I set it up is to guide you to discover your own blueprint. So, because that is my blueprint. It's literally discovering how I talk to myself and turning that into affirmations. And so what I did not know after my second, I did affirmations for the grown-ass woman, I did affirmations to chill, and I did I See Me mantras. After the third album, what I did not know was, actually, no, it was during the fourth album. The fourth album, Me versus Ever Me, affirmations of self-love, that I realized during the process, like wrapping up the fourth album, I was like, wait a minute, this music I'm sharing with the world, but it's really for me. Like, it made me realize that each time I created an album, I was getting initiated. Like, I would create the album and then I would be initiating to embody the album. So affirmations for the grown-ass woman, as soon as I released that, 2 weeks later, I was initiated into this expansive, destructive type space and energy in my life to initiate and to grow. When I released affirmations and chill, it was during the pandemic. So it was all about relaxing and chilling enough to examine the way I talk to myself. And that was the easiest album. And then the third one, I See Me mantras, Oh my gosh. After I released that album, the self-awareness was so big. It was so big. I had to be initiating into it. So I realized I'm channeling these affirmations for myself. It's my school, my curriculum first. And then my love offering is sharing that self-talk with others. And it's the most humbling creative experience to be a vessel for creativity for myself. And then when I share it with others, people can relate. I'm like, how are people able to relate to these deep things and to these deep thoughts? And I'm like, wow, we may be all connected in some way, shape, or form, because for so long I thought I was the only one. And to see that there's so many people that have these deep feelings, these deep, deep thoughts, but maybe not able to articulate it or translate them into a language that empowers them. It's such an honor. But I would definitely say they're very much channeled, but they're for me. And then it's like, because I receive them and because I practice them to make sure it translates into my character, my personality, my relationships with others, how I communicate to others. It nestles into my embodiment, and then I share it with others. So it becomes like this type of medicine. And so, because it's true, not in just how I, deliver it, but it's true in how I live it, which makes that combination makes it a medicine, so.
And I agree, after it is a medicine. I love that you call it that, because it does feel like you just take some amazing medicine after listening. And I love that process so much. And I feel like a takeaway from that is like, you take the action first, and with any, manifestation or whatever that I've ever done, it's always been like, I put me first. I say yes to what like lights me up,
Yeah.
Even the academy that I got my coaching credentials from, I met the owner of it, and she was saying at one point the business was stagnant, and she's like, hold on, let's pause. Like, how, like, where do we want to travel? Like, where, because they were bringing it international to other countries, and they were like, I've always wanted to go to Japan, I've always wanted to go to Australia, or she's from Australia, so a different country. And then as soon as they said yes to their desire first, like, then, the growth was able to happen and share it with people, and it was able to really impact people. So I recently just got accepted to do a TEDx talk in the end of September. And so, it's like, okay, take the action first. Beautiful. But I'm going to become, the woman who shares the mission in the, tactful, scientific way that's required to do a TEDx talk, So just for anyone listening, I just think it's so important. It's like, say yes to you first, throw your hat over the wall, and then watch how it becomes, you become it by default. And then you get to share it and impact the world in whatever way,
Absolutely.
works.
Absolutely.
So powerful. And I love that you did that this past spring. That's incredible. I used to run an ecstatic dance, so freeform, non-judgment, substance-free, barefoot dance, trance kind of experience. And I was a personal trainer in the past, and I was like, wouldn't it be great if, while you were training, like, you had these, mantras going through your mind that, like, you're amazing and you can, you know what I mean? And obviously doing hypnosis in the background. I paired up with a massage therapist at one point, and we did hypno massage. Because
Wow.
Sometimes you're getting a massage and you're like, like, I wish my brain could come. It's like, why don't they do, hypnosis? So the fact that you're training practitioners to add that in is amazing. Like, it makes so much sense to me.
Yeah, I think really, I feel like anybody could really do this work but the requirement is that you have to feel called to do it. It can't just be like, oh, this is a good idea. It's like, no, I feel like I want to create music. Like, I want to create affirmations that's aligned with the type of work I do. So I had everybody of every age, from the 20s all the way into 60s, 70s, in that space, from hairstylists. I mean, I had hairstylists that want to create affirmations for their, for their clients, that want to affirm over their hair, over their crown, over their mind, you know? So it's the possibilities are endless. It just has to be something that is true, that your soul feels like, oh, I want to do this.
I love it so much. So you said your next one is September. How can people find out about it?
Well, it's September 7th, 8th, and 9th. And I've soft launched it to my subscription list. And then I've been announcing it on social media. So I announce it fully this weekend, but you can go to my website. You can actually go to my Instagram page, and I have a link to it, but no one knows about it because I haven't promoted it. But I just set it up to prepare for launch and stuff. So so you can find out that way through my Instagram link.
Amazing. Good for everyone.
And my website, IamToniJones.com.
I am Toni Jones.
I'm thinking about selling the replay. So that may be a possibility. Nice. Because by the time you release this, it'll be the program will be over. It'll be launched. So
totally, absolutely. And yeah, good. So either way, check her out. Check her on Spotify. Is it just Toni Jones to find your affirmation?
Yep, Toni Jones with an I. Toni
Jones with an I. It's amazing. Definitely check her out. Give her a follow on Instagram, and if it speaks to you, get to that workshop. Life-changing. Your energy is amazing. Thank you so much for just being brave and pioneering this type of front.
Thank you so much.
People, for women, for creators, for, aspiring musicians and healers and coaches. And there's just so many people that you can touch with your story. And I just appreciate your being willing to share it. You've impacted my life. So thank you for being here and sharing it with the audience.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Good. And so for anyone listening, check out Toni Jones, and we'll see you for the next podcast. Bye-bye. If you are serious about taking action on your struggle with food, body, and weight, then this is for you. Go ahead and text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483. Immediately after texting that number, you will get access to our free training that will tell you why you can't figure the food, body, and weight thing out, why you can't keep weight off even after you've been successful in the past, and how to actually overcome it, including a mini hypnosis session at the end. Don't miss out. Text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483.